The rain, that night was not ordinary rain. It was wild, angry, and heavy, like the sky was punishing the whole city. Thunder cracked over Lagos like a gunshot, and flashes of lightning revealed what no one was supposed to see. Under the bridge at Ojota, a pregnant woman lay flat on the muddy ground, soaked, shaking, and half-conscious. Her wrapper was torn, her belly swollen, her lips trembling as she whispered for help no one could hear. A small nylon bag was beside her, the only thing she had left in the world. Cars sped past. Nobody stopped. Then came the sound of an Okada engine, that struggling, coughing noise that only the poor understand. Tun, the rider, was drenched from head to toe. His shirt clung to his skinny body, and his slippers slapped against the wet road as he slowed down to wipe rain from his eyes. He had just finished a long day of work. His hands hurt from gripping the handlebars all day. His stomach was empty. He hadn't eaten since morning. All he wanted was to reach his small wooden room in K2, rest, and forget about life for one night. But fate had other plans. As his Okada light flashed toward the bridge, he saw a shape on the ground. At first, he thought it was just a bag of rubbish thrown out by the roadside. Then it moved. A faint groan came from the dark. Tun's heart stopped for a moment. He turned his handle sharply, his tires sliding on the wet road. He parked, his headlight falling directly on the figure. That was when he saw her, a pregnant woman, lying flat under the rain, her face pale, her arms stretched weakly like she was reaching for someone that would never come. Her hair was glued to her wet cheeks. The ground around her was mixed with rainwater and mud, and it looked like she had been there for hours. Tun froze. His first thought was fear. Wouldn't be this? Dead body? Or police walla? He almost turned back, but then lightning struck again, and he saw her belly move. She was alive. He ran toward her, shouting, "Ani, Ani, can you hear me?" No answer, only a faint whisper, her lips barely moving. "Help me, please." That voice, it broke something inside him. He dropped to his knees beside her, shaking her shoulders lightly. "Madam, stand up. You can't stay here." "Rain go kill you," he shouted, his voice trembling with pity. But her eyes rolled back. Her breathing slowed. Her hand slipped from his and landed on the mud. "No, no, no," he cried, lifting her head onto his lap. She was burning hot, even under the cold rain. He didn't know what to do, but he knew one thing. He couldn't leave her there. He carried her in his arms. The weight shocked him, not just the baby she carried, but the fear that filled his chest. He placed her gently on the back of his Okada, covering her with his jacket. As he kicked the engine, thunder roared again, louder this time, as if heaven itself was angry at the world for watching this woman die alone. The Okada wobbled on the slippery road. Tun's slippers splashed through puddles as he sped toward the nearest clinic. His eyes squinted against the rain. Every second felt like a race against death. He shouted at the guard at the clinic gate, "Please!" "She's dying. She's pregnant." The guard frowned, moving lazily under his umbrella. "Go to General Hospital. We don't take emergencies at night." Tun's heart jumped. "A bag. Just open gate. Rain day fall. She no go survive." But the guard ignored him and looked away. That was when Tun lost his patience. He jumped down from his Okada, kicked the gate hard, and screamed, "If this woman die here, her blood go be on your head." The nurse on night duty came out angrily, chewing gum. "What's happening here?" Tun pointed at the woman. "She's in labor. Please help." The nurse hissed, "Who are you to her?" "I don't know her," he replied honestly. "I just saw her on the road." The nurse gave him a sharp look. "You don't know her? And you're carrying her here in the middle of the night? You people will not kill me with your walla." She turned to leave, but thunder crashed again, and the woman screamed from the bike, a scream that cut through the noise of the rain. Everyone froze. The nurse rushed forward. "Oh my God, she's crowning. Bring her inside." Tun helped lift her onto a stretcher. His hands shook as he followed him into the clinic. The smell of disinfectant hit his nose. The woman's cries echoed through the corridor. Inside the labor room, the nurse barked orders. Water, gloves, scissors. Tun stood by the door, his chest pounding. He had never seen a woman in labor before. He wanted to run, but something made him stay. Minutes passed like hours. The rain outside softened to a whisper. Then silence. Tun's stomach tightened. He waited. He prayed. Then he heard the nurse's voice, sharp and panicked. Her pulse is dropping. We're losing her. Tun rushed in without permission. The nurse shouted, "Get out!" But he didn't care. He saw the woman lying still, her eyes half open, her face wet with tears. "Madam, please," he cried, gripping her hand. "Don't die. Please, fight. God will help you." Her lips moved slowly. She whispered something he barely heard. "If I don't survive, find Pastor Alayemi, he will tell you the truth." Then her hand went limp. Tun shouted, "Nurse, do something." The nurse pressed her chest, trying to revive her. Then a sound cut through the chaos. A cry. A baby's cry. Tun turned. The baby had arrived. A small, fragile girl wrapped in a white cloth, crying in the middle of the storm. Tun's tears mixed with rainwater still dripping from his hair. He stared at the lifeless woman, then at the child in the nurse's arms. Outside, the thunder finally stopped. Only the cry of a newborn filled the night. Tun whispered, "I don't know who you are, little one, but I promise, you won't suffer like your mother." He looked up at the ceiling, rain still dripping through the clinic roof, and murmured, "God, why do the kind ones always suffer?" Then, with trembling hands, he carried the baby close to his chest. The story of the poor Okada driver and the child born under the rain had just begun. The night was far from over. The rain had stopped, but the pain in Tun's heart had just begun. Inside the small clinic, the nurse wrapped the baby in a faded blue blanket. The child's cry echoed softly through the dimly lit room, a sound both beautiful and haunting. But beside her lay silence, the mother's body covered with thin white sheet. Tun stood motionless, his shirt soaked, his hands trembling. He stared at the sheet as though expecting it to move. He hoped she'd open her eyes, smile weakly, and whisper, "Thank you," but she didn't. The nurse sighed and pulled off her gloves. "She's gone. Poor thing. She lost too much blood before you brought her." Tun swallowed hard, his throat burning. "But she talked before she died. She mentioned the pastor. Pastor Alayemi." The nurse shook her head. "Maybe her last words. You can leave now. We'll call the authorities tomorrow." Tun looked at the baby. The little girl's tiny fingers reached out as if calling for the mother she would never know. His eyes grew wet. He whispered to himself, "How can I just leave her here? Alone?" He took a deep breath. He couldn't. He wouldn't. Outside, the world was cold and dark. The early morning breeze carried the smell of wet earth and sorrow. Tun stood under the flickering clinic light, staring at the sleeping baby in his arms. He didn't even know her name. He sat on his Okada seat, the engine silent, his thoughts loud. People passed by, some curious, some indifferent. He muttered, "What will I do now? I know get house fit carry baby. I know even get food." Then he remembered the woman's last words. Find Pastor Alayemi. Maybe that was the answer. The next morning, after a sleepless night, Tun asked around. He stopped at kiosks, at roadside canteens, even at a vulcanizer shop. "Do you know any Pastor Alayemi around here?" He asked one after another. An old woman frying akra looked up at him. "Alayemi?" "Yes. There's one church down the street. Mountain of Grace. Try there." He thanked her and drove off, the baby tied to his chest with a scarf he borrowed from a neighbor. The little girl was quiet, as if she could sense the heaviness in his heart. When he reached the small church, a man sweeping the compound pointed him inside. The pastor was tall, gentle-looking, and his eyes widened when he saw the baby. "Good morning, sir," Tun said, his voice shaking. "Please, I'm looking for Pastor Alayemi. A woman I found on the road mentioned your name before she died." The pastor's broom fell from his hand. "Describe her," he said softly. "She was pregnant, fair." Tun stopped, then corrected himself instinctively. "No, I mean light brown skin. About 30 years old. She wore a wrapper with red flowers. She died giving birth last night." The pastor covered his mouth in shock. Mercy? Oh, Lord, that must be Sister Mercy. Do you know her? Tund asked quickly. The pastor nodded slowly. She used to attend this church. She disappeared months ago after her family disowned her. Her father is one of the richest men in this town. They chased her away when she got pregnant for a poor man. Tund's eyes widened. You mean this woman was rich? Yes, the pastor said, tears welling up. Her father owns Aliyemi Holdings. She left her family, and no one knew where she went. And now you're telling me she's gone. Tund looked down at the baby. So what do we do now, Pastor? The pastor shook his head. Let me make some calls. We'll inform the family. But when he called, no one answered. He tried again and again, still nothing. Finally, he sighed. They blocked her name in their hearts. Maybe they'll never come. Tund felt something tighten in his chest. He looked at the baby again. She's innocent, he whispered. She didn't ask for this life. The pastor nodded. You have a good heart, my son. God will bless you for helping her. For now, take her home. I'll see what can be done. Tund blinked. Home? But I live in one small room near the railway line. I know even get baby things. The pastor reached into a drawer and brought out a small white envelope. Here, take this. It's not much, but it will help for a start. Tund looked inside. There were a few crumpled naira notes. He bowed his head. Thank you, sir. That evening, back in his room, he placed the baby on his old mattress. The room was tiny, one bed, one chair, and a small stove. Rain still leaked through the ceiling in the corner. He sat beside her, watching her sleep. Each time she moved, he jumped, afraid something might happen. He didn't know how to feed her, so he ran to the corner store to buy powdered milk and a small bottle. The store owner laughed when he asked how to mix it. You? With a baby? You must be joking. Tund smiled weakly. Life no tell me before give me test. That night, he fed her clumsily, spilling more milk on his shirt than into her mouth. But when she finally smiled in her sleep, he felt something inside him change. He whispered, You go be fine. I go take care of you. He named her Miracle because that was what she was. Days turned into weeks. Tund became known in the neighborhood as the Okada man with the baby. People mocked him. Who knows where he picked that child from? Maybe he stole her. Maybe he killed her mother. But Tund ignored them all. He woke early, bathed Miracle with care, strapped at his back, and went out to hustle. He drove passengers through the city heat and traffic, while the baby slept peacefully behind him. At night, he returned home tired but happy to see her alive. Sometimes, he would talk to her like she could understand. My Pekin, life hard, oh, but we go make am. He had no family, no friends who cared, just a small child who smiled up at him like he was her whole world. And deep inside, he felt something he had never felt before, purpose. One night, as he put Miracle to sleep, he stared at the old ceiling again and whispered, God, I don't understand why you brought her to me, but I'll protect her with my life. Then, as the candlelight flickered on their faces, a soft wind blew through the window. It was almost like a blessing. But far away, in a mansion across town, a man was pacing back and forth in his living room, staring at an old photo of the same woman Tund had buried weeks ago. He clenched his fists and murmured, Mercy, where'd you go? You can't just disappear with my child. He didn't know that the child he was searching for was sleeping in the arms of a poor Okada driver. The sun rose slowly over the slum that morning, painting the rusted rooftops gold. From a distance, the streets looked peaceful. But for those who lived there, life was a daily battle between hunger and hope. Inside a small wooden room behind the train station, the cry of a baby broke the silence. Tund, half asleep, jumped up from his old mattress. He rubbed his eyes and smiled when he saw Miracle waving her tiny hands in the air. Ah, my baby don't wake. You no even allow Papa rest small, he joked softly. He scooped her up and pressed his nose to her cheek. She smelled of baby powder and innocence. He had sold half his clothes to buy her milk, and sometimes he went to bed hungry just to keep her fed. But none of that mattered. Every time she smiled, He forgot his pain. Outside, Tun balanced her on his chest with a wrapper and started his day's work. The sun was hot, traffic was mad, and his motorcycle coughed like an old man. But he kept riding. Passengers would laugh when they saw the baby on his back. "Okada man, so you be nanny now," one man joked. Tun just smiled. "Now my daughter, she no fit stay alone." By evening, when he returned, he'd place her on the mattress and watch her sleep. Sometimes he whispered, "You know no wedding God do for me the day I see you. I thought I was helping you, but now you God send to help me." Weeks turned into months. Miracle grew fast. Her eyes were bright and curious, her laughter pure like morning church bells. But her tears were strange. Each time she cried, Tun's heart would ache as if her pain was his own. Once, when she fell sick and couldn't stop crying, Tun ran barefoot to the same small clinic. The same nurse who had shouted at him that stormy night looked at him in shock. "You again?" she asked. "You still with that baby?" Tun nodded, panicked. "She know day well. A beg help us." The nurse took the child reluctantly. After some tests, she returned with a sigh. "She'll be fine. It's just fever. You need to take better care of her." Tun exhaled, whispering a prayer of thanks. As he carried Miracle back home, she opened her tiny eyes and touched his chin softly, almost like she was saying, "Don't cry for me, Papa." He smiled. "I no fit lose you. Not after everything." Years passed. Miracle was now 5 years old. Her skin glowed like the morning sun, and her hair was always tied in small puffs with colorful beads Tun bought from street vendors. She followed him everywhere, to the market, to the Okada park, even at church. Everyone in the neighborhood knew them. "That's Tun and his daughter," children would shout as he passed. He had become a father without planning to, and yet he wore that title proudly. One Sunday morning after church, Pastor Alayemi called Tun aside. "My son," the pastor said gently, "have you thought about her future? She's growing fast. She needs school." Tun looked down. "I know, sir, but I no get money yet. I still day save small. The pastor smiled. "God will provide. You've done what many wouldn't do. Keep faith." Tun nodded, though his heart felt heavy. That night, while Miracle slept beside him, he counted the little money he had. It wasn't enough. He sighed, then looked at her face, peaceful and glowing. "I no go let poverty stop you," he whispered. "You go school. Even if I sell my Okada, you go learn." The next day, he did the unthinkable. He sold his motorcycle. The buyer gave him half of what it was worth, but Tun didn't argue. He used the money to enroll Miracle in a small private school down the street. He started working as a laborer at a construction site, carrying blocks, mixing cement, sweating under the sun from morning till night. But each time he passed the school and saw Miracle in her uniform, smiling, singing ABC songs, his tiredness disappeared. That evening, as he picked her up from class, her teacher said, "Your daughter is very smart. She answers questions faster than anyone in the class." Tun's chest swelled with pride. "She get her mama brain," he said softly, though his voice carried both pride and sadness. At home that night, Miracle sat on his lap and drew on an old paper. She showed him a picture, a stick man, a woman, and a little girl holding hands under the rain. Tun blinked. "Who be these people?" She pointed. "That's you. That's me. And that's the woman you always look at in your small photo." Tun froze. "How you know that photo?" She smiled. "You think I no see it? You keep it under your pillow." He looked away, his eyes moist. "That woman, she your mama," he said quietly. "She's strong, kind, and she love you, even before she see you." Miracle looked at him curiously. "Where is she now?" Tun's voice cracked. "She day heaven, my child, but she day watch us every day." Miracle placed her small hand on his cheek and said something that melted his heart. "Then when I grow big, I'll build her a house in heaven, so she won't sleep under rain again." Tun broke down and hugged her tightly, tears falling on her back. He whispered, "You are truly a miracle." As she drifted to sleep later that night, Thunder rumbled faintly in the distance, just like the night she was born. Tun stepped outside, looked at the dark sky, and smiled. God, I see what you did. You turned my pain to blessing. He didn't know that destiny was not done with them yet, because somewhere in the city, a man in a black Jeep stared at a child's photo on his phone, his eyes widening. He whispered, "That face, she looks just like Mercy." He turned to his driver. "Find that child, no matter what it takes." The morning sun burned fiercely over Lagos, turning the rusted rooftops into mirrors of gold. Tun was already awake before dawn, washing Miracle's school uniform in a small plastic bowl outside his room. His palms were rough. His back ached from carrying cement bags all week, but he didn't complain. He hummed softly, a tune his late mother used to sing. Inside, Miracle's gentle voice echoed, singing her school rhyme as she brushed her tiny teeth. "Rain, rain, go away." Tun smiled. "If only rain really go away from our life," he murmured. He spread her uniform on the line and turned to see her peeking out the window with her hair full of bubbles. "Papa, you're smiling again," she said. "Yes, my baby," he replied. "You be my reason to smile." When he dropped her off at school that morning, he watched her run through the gate with her lunch bag swinging. The other children looked fresh, polished shoes, neat braids, new bags. Miracle's shoes were old, her socks faded, but her joy was brighter than them all. As he watched her wave from the classroom door, something inside him broke, pride mixed with pain. He whispered, "God, make she never see poverty the way I see Am." Tun's days were hard. He worked at a construction site by the expressway, with a foreman shouted from morning till night. Sweat dripped from his face into the cement mix. Sometimes he carried blocks until his hands bled. When he rested, he would sit under a mango tree, pull out Miracle's small photo from his pocket, and smile. His friend Kola, another laborer, would shake his head. "Tun, you be fool you sell your Okada to train another person Pekin. What if she grow and forget you?" Tun would just smile and say, "Kola love no be contract. I no help her for reward. I help her because God put her in my hand." Kola laughed. "You go die poor." Tun looked up at the sky. Better die poor with peace than rich with regret. That evening, when he returned home, Miracle was sitting on the floor, doing her homework by candlelight. She looked up, her face lighting up. "Papa, my teacher say I came first in class." Tun dropped his bag in shock. "First? You mean number one?" "Yes!" she shouted, showing him the result sheet. He lifted her high and spun her around. "Ah, that's my girl. You go far, my baby." She giggled. "Papa, you promised you'd buy me jollof rice if I did well." Tun laughed. "I remember. Tomorrow we go buy rice and even meat join." That night, while she slept, he stared at her face again, peaceful, innocent, full of dreams. He whispered, "God, I don't have much, but I'll give her everything I have." But life wasn't done testing him. 2 weeks later, Tun fell from a scaffolding at work. The fall wasn't high, but he landed hard on his leg. Pain shot through his body. His coworkers rushed to lift him, shouting for help. At the clinic, the doctor said, "Your leg is fractured. You'll need to rest for at least 4 weeks." Tun stared blankly. "Rest? Doctor, if I rest, who'll go feed my Pekin?" The doctor sighed. "I'm sorry, but if you keep working, you may never walk well again." Tun's heart sank. For weeks with no income meant starvation. That night, Miracle sat beside him as he winced in pain. She dipped a small towel in water and placed it gently on his leg. "Papa, I prayed for you in class today," she whispered. "My teacher said God hears the prayer of children." Tun smiled weakly. "Then I'm healed already." He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Days passed, and hunger crept into the room like a silent thief. Their food finished. Their candle burned out. Tun could barely walk. Yet every morning, he limped to the school gate, pretended he was fine, just to make sure Miracle entered safely. One afternoon, the landlord knocked loudly on his door. "Tun, you day owe 2 months' rent. If you no pay by weekend, I go throw your load outside." Tun bowed his head. Please, give me small time. I go find work. The landlord sneered. Work where you no fit do with that leg? You better sell something. When the man left, Tun sat quietly, tears forming in his eyes. He looked around, nothing left to sell. Then his gaze fell on the little gold necklace around Miracle's neck, the one the nurse had found on her mother that night. He froze. Could he really sell it? No, but hunger doesn't care about emotions. That night, while Miracle slept, he picked it up and stared at it in the candlelight. It glimmered softly, with tiny letters engraved on it. To Mercy with love. He closed his eyes. So her mama named Nam Mercy. His hand shook. He couldn't sell it. Instead, he hid it in a small box on the bed and said, maybe one day, this necklace go tell us who you really be. The next morning, Tun dragged himself to the Okada Park. He begged his old friends for small jobs, carrying passengers, cleaning bikes, anything. One rider, Musa, took pity on him. Here, take my bike for today, he said. Just bring him back in the evening. Tun smiled, tears in his eyes. God bless you. He carried passengers until sunset. His leg hurt badly, but the little money he made bought food for Miracle that night. She looked at the bread and akara he brought and shouted, Papa, we're rich. He laughed weakly. Yes, my baby, today we be millionaires. Later that night, he prayed aloud, God, if you day hear me, don't let my daughter suffer. Even if you take me, please bless her. Outside, the moon shone quietly through the broken window. Inside, a man and his little girl slept holding hands, unaware that the same necklace under their bed was about to bring strangers into their lives. Because, miles away, a woman was staring at an old photo frame, whispering through tears, Mercy, where are you? If you're alive, please come home. And her eyes fell on the same golden necklace, the twin of the one Miracle wore. The morning began quietly, but the air carried an unusual heaviness. Tun woke up before dawn as usual, stretching his weak legs slowly. The pain was still there, though it had healed enough for him to limp less. He watched Miracle sleep peacefully beside him, her hand resting over his chest. The sound of roosters echoed from afar. The smell of fried akara drifted through the window. Tun whispered, Thank you, God, for one more day. He didn't know that day would change everything. As the sun rose higher, Tun prepared Miracle for school. Her laughter filled the room. She brushed her hair herself now, though it always came out uneven. Papa, when will you buy me those pink shoes I saw last week? She asked, smiling. Tun laughed. When your papa become big man. She giggled. Then you'll be rich like the people on TV. He smiled sadly. If being rich means forgetting where I come from, I know one am, but I'll give you a better life. I swear it. He walked her to school, his limp still visible. On his way back, he stopped by the park to help clean motorcycles for small money. Around noon, while he rested under the mango tree near the road, a black SUV stopped in front of him. It was the kind of car that didn't belong in his neighborhood, shiny, clean, with tinted glass. The window rolled down slowly, and a man in a crisp white shirt looked out. Are you Tun? The man asked. Tun blinked. Yes, sir. Who you be? The man smiled politely. My name is Samuel. I've been looking for you. Tun frowned. For me? I no get business with rich people, oh. Samuel chuckled softly. You helped someone years ago, a woman, pregnant. You found her under a bridge, right? Tun's heart stopped. Yes, I remember. You know her? The man's voice lowered. She's alive. Tun dropped the rag in his hand. Alive? That's not possible. I buried her myself. Samuel nodded slowly. She was in a coma for months. She only woke up recently. Tun stared at him, his mouth dry. Jesus Christ. Samuel continued, She told me everything about the rain, the clinic, and you. She's been searching for you for months. She wants to see you and the child. Tun's body felt light and heavy at the same time. He took a step back. The child? Miracle? Yes, Samuel said, smiling faintly. She calls her Miracle, too. The woman said if she ever met you again, she would bless you beyond imagination. Tun's voice trembled. Where is she now? Samuel handed him a small card. Here, that's her address. Lekki Phase 1. Tun stared at the neat handwriting on the card. He'd never even stepped foot in Lekki. It was a world away. The world of the rich, the kind he watched from afar but never belonged to. He looked up at Samuel. Why now? Why after all these years? Samuel sighed. Sometimes destiny takes its time. He started the car again, but before driving off, he added, She wants to see you tomorrow morning. Please come. Tun nodded slowly, still dazed. As the SUV disappeared down the road, he stood frozen, his heart pounding fast. He whispered, God, what are you doing? That night, he could hardly sleep. His thoughts were racing. Alive? How? And she wants to see me? Miracle stirred beside him. Papa, you're not sleeping. What's wrong? Tun smiled faintly. Nothing, my baby. Just thinking. Thinking about rice? She asked playfully. He laughed softly. No. Thinking about the woman God used to send you to me. She looked curious. My real mama? Tun hesitated. Yes. Someone said she's alive. Miracle's eyes widened. Alive? Will she come here? Tun brushed her hair gently. No, we will go to her tomorrow. She smiled half asleep. Then I'll wear my best dress. By morning, Tun borrowed a clean shirt from his neighbor, polished his old shoes till they shined, and plaited Miracle's hair neatly. He tied the same scarf he'd used the night he found her around her waist, not for decoration, but as a reminder of where everything began. They took a bus toward Lekki. Miracle's eyes widened at the big houses, the tall gates, and the cars gliding smoothly through the wide roads. Papa, are we still in Lagos? She asked in awe. Tun chuckled. Yes, but this part no get pothole. When they reached the mansion gate, a uniformed guard stopped them. Who are you looking for? Tun handed him the card. We come see Madam Mercy. The guard eyed him suspiciously. Wait here. Moments later, the gate opened slowly. Inside was a large compound, flowers blooming, cars parked neatly. Tun held Miracle's hand tightly as they walked in. His heart pounded with every step. And then he saw her. A tall, beautiful woman stepped out from a veranda. Her dress flowed softly in the breeze. Her eyes glistened with tears before she even spoke. Tun, she whispered. He stopped. His lips parted, but no sound came. Mercy, he managed to say at last. She nodded, tears falling. She walked toward him, trembling. You saved me. You saved my child. Tun's knees grew weak. They told me you died. I buried you with my own hands. She covered her mouth, sobbing. I almost did, but God gave me a second chance. She turned her eyes to Miracle, who stood shyly behind Tun. Is this her? Mercy asked, her voice breaking. Tun nodded slowly. Yes, this is Miracle. Mercy fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. My baby girl. Miracle looked at Tun, unsure. Papa? Tun knelt down beside her and said gently, Go, my baby. That's your mama. Miracle took slow steps toward Mercy, then wrapped her tiny arms around her. For a moment, time stopped. The mother wept. The child smiled and Tun. The poor Okada rider stood behind them, wiping tears from his own eyes. Mercy looked up at him and whispered through sobs, How can I ever repay you? Tun smiled faintly. You don't owe me anything. I just did what any human should do. She shook her head. No, Tun, you did what angels do. That evening, as they sat together in the garden, Mercy told him everything. How she had slipped into a coma, how her family thought she was dead, and how she rebuilt her life after waking up. I searched for you for years, she said softly. Every night. I prayed I'd meet the man who gave my daughter life. Tun looked at her with tired eyes. God hear prayer. He just no day rush answer. Mercy smiled through tears. Tomorrow I'll take you both somewhere. There's something you need to see. That night, As Tund and Miracle slept in the mansion guest room for the first time in their lives, soft rain began to fall outside, the same kind of rain that once brought them together. And in the middle of the night, Mercy stood by the window, whispering, "God, thank you for giving me a second chance. But please, don't let my past find me again." Because outside the gate, under the rain, a car engine hummed quietly, and a shadowy figure inside whispered into a phone, "They've found her. The woman and the child are at Lekki." The morning sun stretched gently across the compound, touching the walls of the white-painted mansion where Tund and Miracle had spent the night. For the first time in years, Tund woke up in a room that didn't leak when it rained. The bed was soft, the air smelled of lavender, and the silence was peaceful. But deep down, his heart wasn't still. He felt like a stranger in another man's dream. He sat on the edge of the bed, watching Miracle sleep in a soft pink nightgown that Mercy had bought her. The little girl's face was calm, her chest rising and falling in rhythm with the morning breeze from the window. Tund whispered, "God, you really have a way of surprising a poor man." He rose slowly, limping a bit, and walked toward the balcony. Below him, the mansion garden looked like a painting. Roses lined up neatly, fountains sparkling like crystal, and birds feeding near the poolside. Workers in uniforms moved quietly across the compound. Everything spoke of wealth, comfort, and a kind of life Tund had never known. A gentle knock came on the door. "Good morning, sir," a soft voice said. It was a maid holding a tray of breakfast, yam and eggs, with tea steaming beside it. Tund blinked in confusion. For me?" She smiled. "Madam said you should eat before coming downstairs." He scratched his head, laughing nervously. "Ah, this one passed my level. Oh." He closed the door and sat on the bed, staring at the food for a while before touching it. He had eaten yam many times before, but never served like this, on a silver tray with fine china. When he finally took a bite, his eyes watered. God," he muttered, "so this not how rich people day chop." Miracle woke up, rubbing her eyes. "Papa, where are we?" "In heaven," he said jokingly. "But don't worry, we no go stay long." Downstairs, Mercy sat in the living room wearing a flowing gold dress. She smiled when she saw them. "Good morning, Tund. Did you sleep well?" Tund nodded shyly. "Madam, sorry, Mercy, I sleep like new baby. Thank you for everything." She gestured for them to sit. "Please, don't thank me. If not for you, my daughter would not be alive." Miracle ran into her arms. "Mama, I like my new room. It's big like school." Mercy laughed and kissed her forehead. "You can have everything you want now, my love." Tund looked around the luxurious sitting room. Chandeliers above, large paintings on the wall, air conditioners humming softly. His clothes fell out of place, his slippers old and cracked against the marble floor. Mercy noticed his unease. "Tund," she said gently, "your family here. You don't have to feel small." He nodded slowly, his throat tight. "I hear you, but poverty no day wash away overnight." She smiled sadly. "Then let me help you wash away." Later that afternoon, Mercy called him into her father's old study. The room was full of books, trophies, and framed certificates. A large portrait of a stern-faced man hung behind the desk. "That's my father," she said quietly. "He died 2 years ago." Tund bowed slightly. "May his soul rest in peace." She nodded, then looked at him seriously. "My father owned several companies. Before he died, he left everything to me. But I never felt at peace. I kept searching for the man who saved me and the child I lost." She opened a small box on the table. Inside was a necklace, identical to the one Miracle had worn all these years. Tund gasped. "That same necklace. I kept it safe since the night you gave birth." He reached into his pocket and brought out the tiny chain wrapped in paper. When he placed it beside hers, the two matched perfectly, like a story finally completing itself. Tears filled Mercy's eyes. "You kept it all these years?" "Yes," he said softly. "I know get anything valuable in this world, but that necklace reminded me of hope." Mercy wiped her tears. "Hope brought us here again." As they talked, the door creaked open. A tall man, in a dark suit entered. His expression was unreadable. "Madam, sorry to interrupt," he said. "There's someone at the gate asking for you." Mercy frowned. "Who?" The man hesitated. "He says his name is Chuka." Mercy froze. The color drained from her face. Tun noticed immediately. "You know, She swallowed hard. "He was the man I fell in love with, the father of my child." The air in the room thickened. Tun's eyes widened. "You mean Miracle's father?" Mercy nodded slowly, her fingers trembling. "I thought he was gone. He abandoned me when I was pregnant. But why now?" The security man continued. "He says he wants to see you. He's been here for hours." Mercy stood, her breathing heavy. "Let him in." Tun's heart raced. Something about the name Chuka felt wrong. Like a storm coming again after years of sunshine. Moments later, the door opened and a man walked in. He was tall, muscular, and dressed expensively, but his eyes carried guilt. When his gaze met Mercy's, silence filled the room. "Mercy," he said softly, "you're alive." She crossed her arms, her face unreadable. "Why are you here?" He stepped closer. "I heard what happened. I've been searching for you. I made mistakes. I want to make things right." Tun clenched his fist quietly beside her. "So this is the man who left her under the rain." Mercy's voice trembled. "You left me when I needed you most. You told me to choose between you and my father's money. Then you disappeared." Chuka lowered his head. "I was angry, foolish, but I never stopped loving you." Mercy's voice rose. "If you loved me, where were you when I gave birth alone under a bridge? Where were you when I almost died?" Tun took a step forward, his voice deep and calm. "Sir, maybe you should leave her alone." Chuka turned sharply. "And who are you to talk to me?" Tun looked him straight in the eyes. "The poor man who carried your pregnant woman through rain, who watched her die, and who raised your child with my last kobo." The words hit like thunder. Chuka blinked, speechless. Mercy covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Tun continued quietly. "If you're looking for forgiveness, look at the woman and the child you abandoned, not me." The room went silent, except for the ticking of the wall clock. After a long pause, Mercy turned away, wiping her tears. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Chuka, but I'm not the same woman you left." Chuka lowered his head. "Please, I just want to see my daughter." Mercy looked toward the staircase. Miracle was standing there, innocent eyes watching the scene unfold. "Papa?" she whispered, confused. Mercy froze again. "What did you call him?" Miracle pointed at Tun. "That's my papa." Tun turned slowly, his eyes wet. "Yes, my baby. Always." Mercy looked between both men, one who abandoned her and one who saved her, and her heart shattered in silence. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly again, just like that first night years ago. The mansion grew cold that night, not from the weather, but from a storm of truth gathering inside its walls. Everyone had gone quiet after Chuka's arrival. Mercy sat on the couch, trembling with anger and pain, her eyes fixed on the floor. Tun stood by the window, his jaw tight, trying to calm his racing heart. And little Miracle sat between them, confused and afraid, clutching her small teddy bear. The silence stretched until it hurt. Finally, Mercy broke it. Her voice was calm, but it carried the weight of years of buried pain. "Chuka, before you speak another word, tell me the truth," she said. "Why did you leave me that night?" Chuka sighed, running a hand over his head. "Mercy, I was scared. Your father threatened to destroy me. He said if I didn't walk away, he'd make sure I never worked in this city again." Mercy scoffed. "So you chose fear over love?" "I was young, poor. I thought I was doing the right thing," he said softly. "I thought if I built myself first, I could come back for you." Tun turned from the window, his eyes burning. "But you didn't come back. You left her to die under the rain." Chuka faced him. "And who are you to judge me?" Tun's voice rose, slow, deep, steady. "I'm the man who picked up what you threw away. I'm the one who heard her last breath. I'm the one who raised your child when you didn't even know she was alive. The words hit like thunder. Mercy covered her face and wept quietly. Chuka stared at Tund, speechless for a moment. "You raised her?" he asked in disbelief. Tund nodded. "From the first day she cried till now. I gave her my last meal when I had none. I carried her on my back through heat and hunger. So yes, I raised her." Chuka's lips trembled. "Then I owe you my life." Tund shook his head slowly. "You owe that to her mother and to the girl upstairs." The sound of small footsteps broke the tension. Miracle walked down the stairs, her big eyes shining with innocence. She looked at the three adults, confused but curious. "Mama, what's happening?" she asked softly. Mercy opened her arms. "Come here, my baby." The girl walked over and sat on her mother's lap. Mercy held her tightly and said, "There's something you must know." She pointed toward Tund and whispered, "That man, he is the one God sent to save us both. He is your father in love and kindness." Then she looked toward Chuka. "And this man, he is your father by blood." Miracle blinked, her little mind struggling to understand. "So, I have two papas." Tund forced a smile, though tears filled his eyes. "Yes, my child, two papas. One gave you life, the other gave you love." The room went quiet again, until Mercy began to sob uncontrollably. "I didn't know you were alive. Chuka, I thought you left forever. The night I ran from home, I was in labor. I tried to reach you, but your number didn't go through. That's when everything went wrong." Chuka sat slowly. "I was arrested that night, Mercy. Your father sent men after me. They accused me of theft. I spent months in prison, begging to prove my innocence. By the time I got out, I heard you had died." Mercy froze. "Prison?" He nodded. "Yes. I lost everything. My job, my name, my dignity. I searched for you for years, but it was like you vanished. I never knew you survived." The truth hung heavy in the air like smoke. Tund's anger slowly softened. Even Mercy's face changed, shock replacing fury. She looked at Chuka with trembling lips. "So, all this while both of us were suffering alone." He nodded, tears rolling down his cheeks. "I lost you because of your father's pride." Mercy broke down completely. "My father destroyed every happiness I ever had. He said I brought shame to the family." She looked up, her voice trembling with fury. "He even paid the nurse that night to let me die quietly. I found out after I woke from coma. That's why I left home. I couldn't forgive him." Tund's eyes widened. "You mean someone wanted you dead?" Mercy nodded slowly. "Yes. The nurse told me when I returned to thank her. My father offered her money to get rid of me and the baby, but she couldn't do it. Instead, she helped me and told everyone I died." The revelation hit Tund like lightning. All the pain, the suffering, the nights under the leaking roof, all of it traced back to one man's pride. Chuka buried his face in his palms. "If only I'd stayed that night. If only I'd fought for you." Mercy turned toward him. "We can't change the past, Chuka, but maybe we can protect the future." Tund exhaled deeply. The truth dawned come out now. Maybe this not the peace we all need. Miracle, still sitting between them, touched both men's hands and smiled innocently. "You're both my papas. Maybe God made it that way." Everyone looked at her, speechless. In that moment, it was as if a child had spoken wisdom greater than all of them. Later that evening, as the rain began to fall softly outside, Mercy led them all into the small family chapel in the mansion. She knelt down and prayed out loud. "Lord, thank you for bringing us together again. Thank you for showing me that love doesn't die under the rain. It grows in hearts that refuse to give up." Tund and Chuka knelt beside her. Miracle clasped her small hands and closed her eyes. For the first time in years, peace filled the air. After the prayer, Mercy turned to Tund. "Tomorrow, I want to take you somewhere. Somewhere important." "Where?" he asked. "To my father's old office," she said. "You deserve to know how much your kindness has changed my life and my family's legacy." She looked at Chuka. "You too, Chuka. It's time we face the ghosts of the past." Tund nodded quietly. "I'll go anywhere with you. I just want this child to live without shame." Mercy smiled weakly. And she will. But outside in the rain, a man sat inside a black car watching the mansion from afar. He lit a cigarette, took a long drag, and whispered into his phone. They're together now. The woman, the child, and the poor man. Should I proceed? A cold voice replied from the other end. Wait. Tomorrow. The old office. That's where we end it. The rain washed the street quietly, but another storm was coming. The morning broke with a gentle light. Birds chirped on the mansion fence, and the smell of rain still lingered in the air. But inside Mercy's heart, a new strength had begun to grow. The strength to heal, to forgive, and to give back the man who had carried her pain when the world turned its back. Ton stood in the garden early that morning, watering flowers with a small green can. He wore a clean shirt Mercy had bought him, though he still looked like the same humble man who used to ride through Lagos dust on his old Okada. Miracle played near the fountain, laughing as she splashed water at the small fish swimming inside. For the first time in his life, Ton felt peace, real peace. But he didn't know a bigger miracle was about to find him. Papa. Miracle called, running to him barefoot. Mama said you should come inside. She has a surprise. Ton laughed softly. This your mama, no day ever rest. When he entered the living room, Mercy was standing near the window. She turned to face him, her eyes bright with excitement. Ton, she said softly, sit down. I have something for you. He obeyed, sitting slowly, still shy around all the wealth surrounding him. Mercy handed him a brown envelope. This is for you. He frowned, opening it carefully. Inside were documents, property papers, business permits, and a large bank check. He blinked several times. Madam, what be this? She smiled. Not madam. Call me Mercy. He nodded, still stunned. Okay, Mercy, wouldn't be all this? She stepped closer, tears glistening in her eyes. You gave me life when I had nothing. You raised my daughter when I was gone. You showed me what true love means, love without expectation. I can't pay you back, but I can honor you. She pointed at the documents. That house on the mainland? It's yours now. And the business registration. You'll own a motorcycle company. No more riding or begging. You'll employ others. You'll be a boss, Ton. Ton's mouth opened, but no words came out. He stared at her, trembling. I no fit collect this. This too much. I no help you for reward. Mercy shook her head. It's not a reward. It's gratitude. You deserve a new beginning. Tears rolled down his cheeks. God, you really dare see people's heart. Mercy smiled softly. You once told me poverty doesn't wash away overnight. Let me help you wash it today. Ton covered his face with his hands, sobbing quietly. When he looked up, his eyes were red but shining. Mercy! I never thought a poor man like me fit sit in a house like this, much less own one. You just make me believe, say God, still dare remember small people. Mercy walked closer and placed her hand on his shoulder. God never forgets kind souls, Ton. He only hides their blessings for the right time. Later that day, Mercy called Miracle and Chuka into the living room. She wanted them all to share this new joy together. My love, she told Miracle, today we are celebrating your other papa. He's now a business owner. Miracle screamed happily and hugged Ton's leg. Papa, you'll have so many Okadas. Can I ride one? He laughed. Only if you wear a helmet. Chuka clapped lightly. Ton, you deserve this. I owe you everything. Ton smiled modestly. We all owe God. We just instruments. For a brief moment, everything felt perfect. Laughter, forgiveness, family. Even the walls of the mansion seemed lighter. But outside, near the gate, a dark car was parked quietly. Inside it sat a man in a black suit, the same one from the night before. He spoke into his phone, his voice low. They're leaving soon, he said. Yes, the old Aliemi office. We'll strike there. Make it look like a robbery. He hung up and adjusted his jacket, his eyes cold as the steel under his seat. By afternoon, Mercy and Ton drove to her father's old company in Victoria Island. Chuka followed behind in his car with Miracle. The compound was large, though now quiet and dusty from disuse. Mercy looked up at the building sign, Alayemi Holdings. "This place holds too much pain," she said softly. "But today, I'll turn it into peace." Tun nodded. "You know, go do 'em alone. We day with you." They walked into the main hall together. Dust covered the desks, and faded portraits hung crooked on the walls. Mercy stopped at her father's old chair. "I used to play here as a child. He'd tell me one day this would all be mine. But what's the use of wealth when you lose love?" Tun looked around and said, "Then make this place a blessing house. Help those way no get chance." Her eyes lit up. "That's exactly what I plan to do. I'll reopen this building as a foundation for poor families, for single mothers, and for Okada riders' children." Tun grinned. "You go change many lives." But as they talked, a noise echoed from the hallway. Mercy turned quickly. "Did you hear that?" Before Tun could respond, two masked men burst in, holding guns. "Everybody down." Chuka shouted, "Who are you? What do you want?" One of the men sneered. "We're not here for money. We're here for her." He pointed at Mercy. Tun stepped forward. "You go past me first." He lunged at the man, grabbing his wrist. The gun went off, shattering glass. Mercy screamed, holding Miracle close. Chuka tackled the second man, struggling as they crashed into a desk. Tun fought fiercely, despite his limp. The first gunman swung at him, but Tun blocked it with raw strength. Years of hard labor had built his body like iron. He twisted the man's arm, sending the gun flying. Chuka grabbed it midair and pointed at them. "Drop your weapon. Now!" The men froze. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Mercy's driver had triggered the alarm. When police arrived minutes later, the attackers were handcuffed. As they were dragged away, one of them spat angrily. "You think it's over? Ask her about her father's debt." Mercy's face went pale. "Debt? What debt?" The man laughed bitterly. "Your father stole from powerful people. They said if he didn't pay, they'd collect from his bloodline." The officers pushed him into the van and drove off. Tun turned to Mercy. "So that's who sent them?" She nodded slowly, tears streaming. "My father's almost killed us again." That night, back at the mansion, Mercy gathered them all around the dining table. "Enough running," she said. "From now on, we'll live free. No more secrets. No more shame." She looked at Tun. "I'll move the foundation forward, and I want you to manage it with me. You understand the pain of the poor better than anyone." Tun's eyes widened. "Me?" "Yes," she smiled. "You've led with heart, not with money. That's what this world needs." Miracle clapped her hands. "Papa will be a boss again." Tun smiled through tears. "Maybe this time, a different kind of boss." They all laughed, not because everything was perfect, but because, after all the storms, they were still standing. Later that night, Mercy sat by her window as rain began to fall softly again. She whispered, "Thank you, God, for turning pain into purpose." And outside, under that same rain, the poor Okada driver who once found a dying woman now watched his new home lights glow in the distance. Proof that kindness, no matter how small, always finds its reward. The morning air over Lagos was calm, quiet, almost too quiet. After the long night of confusion, police lights, and tears, peace had finally returned to the mansion. Birds hopped on the balcony railing as soft sunshine spilled through the curtains. Tun sat at the dining table, sipping tea slowly, lost in thoughts that had no words. Miracle's laughter floated through the house as she chased a small puppy around the hallway. He smiled faintly. After all the storms, now laughter still get power to heal. But peace has a way of hiding surprises. And that morning, one was waiting at the gate. A uniformed postman walked up to the security guard and handed him a white envelope sealed with gold. "For Madam Mercy Alayemi," he said. When the guard brought it in, Mercy was still upstairs, so he gave it to Tund. "Sir, please give Madam this letter." The man say, "Not from lawyer office." Tund looked at the thick envelope. His name wasn't on it, but something about it made his heart uneasy. He placed it gently on the center table, waiting for Mercy to come down. Moments later, she appeared, her long robe flowing behind her, her face still a little pale from yesterday's fright. "Good morning," she said softly. "Morning," Tund replied. "Postman bring this come. E say nah from lawyer." Mercy frowned slightly. "Lawyer? What lawyer?" She tore it open and began to read. At first her eyes widened. Then her lips trembled. Her hands shook so much that the paper almost fell. Tund stood up quickly. "Mercy, what happened?" She looked up at him, her voice breaking. "It's from my father's lawyer. It's about you and Miracle." Tund's heartbeat doubled. "Me?" She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "Yes. Before my father died, he made a final will. But he sealed part of it, to be open only if I ever found my child." She held up the paper, her voice trembling as she read aloud. "To my daughter, Mercy Alayemi, and her child. I know I failed you in life. I let pride destroy the love you had for that poor man, and I caused your pain. But if God allows this letter to reach you, then it means he's given me one more chance to make things right. The man who helped you that rainy night, the one who carried you to safety and took care of your child, his kindness was not hidden from heaven. He is to be recognized as family. And my company, Alayemi Holdings, is to be transferred equally to your child and to him. For it is written, 'Blessed are those who show mercy, for they shall receive mercy.' Signed, Chief Alayemi Adebanjo." Tund froze. He stared at her like he hadn't heard correctly. "Wait me? Company? Mercy," Abeg read that again. She did, her tears dripping onto the paper. "It's real, Tund. You're part of his final will." Tund stumbled back into the chair, speechless. "Ah, this life. The same man way almost kill you. Now Naim right say I should inherit with you." Mercy nodded, smiling through tears. "Yes, my father must have realized before he died that his pride ruined everything. This was his way of saying sorry, not with words, but with grace." Just then, Miracle came running in, holding her puppy. "Mama, why are you crying again? Are you sad?" Mercy smiled, wiping her tears. "No, my love. Mama's happy. God just gave us another blessing." Tund bent and lifted Miracle into his arms. "You see, my Pekin, sometimes good people no get money, but God never forget their kindness." Miracle giggled. "Papa, are we rich now?" He laughed softly. "We're rich in love, that one first." Later that day, Mercy and Tund went to the lawyer's office to confirm everything. The elderly lawyer, Mr. Ejibala, smiled warmly when he saw them. Finally, Madam Mercy, your father's letter reached you. He had a feeling you would come back someday." He handed Tund another envelope. "These are your documents, sir. You are now legally part of the company board and co-heir to the foundation Madam Mercy established." Tund stared at the papers, his hands trembling. "Sir, me? Board member? I know even finished secondary school." Mr. Ejibala chuckled softly. "Education teaches the head. Life teaches the heart. You have both now." Mercy reached for Tund's hand and squeezed it gently. "You earned this, Tund." He whispered, voice shaking, "I know, Ernam. I just obeyed God that night." As they drove back home, the city looked different to him. Brighter, softer, almost new. The same roads that once punished his tires now looked like paths of destiny. He turned to Mercy. "You know, if I pass that bridge again and see somebody under the rain, I go still stop." She smiled. "That's why God chose you." They sat quietly for a while, the hum of the car filling the air. Then Tund spoke again. "Mercy, can I tell you something?" "Of course," she said. He smiled sadly. "That night when I saw you under the bridge, I thought I was helping a stranger. But looking back now, I think God used you to save me too." Mercy turned away quickly to hide her tears. "Maybe we both saved each other." When they got home, the staff gathered to congratulate them. Miracle ran into the compound shouting, "My papa and mama are rich now. We're all rich." Everyone laughed, clapping for her innocence. Tund lifted her high into the air. "No, my baby, we're blessed, not just rich. Rich people get money, but blessed people get peace. The crowd cheered. That night, Mercy stood on the balcony watching the moon. Tun joined her quietly. "Feels like everything finally makes sense," she said softly. He nodded. "The rain that almost killed you gave us life." She smiled. "And the man who found me in the storm became my destiny." Tun looked at her, eyes full of calm respect. God writes stories even poor people can't imagine. But just as they turned to go inside, a car stopped quietly near the gate. A courier stepped out and handed another envelope to the guard. This one wasn't from a lawyer. It was from Chuka. The guard brought it inside. "Madam, this just arrived. The man say I should give you personally." Mercy frowned, taking it. She opened it slowly, and her hand shook again as she read. "Mercy, I'm leaving for South Africa tonight. I realize my place is not here anymore. Tund is the man God chose for you, and Miracle. Take care of her. Tell her father loves her enough to let her go." Chuka. Tears filled her eyes. She folded the letter and whispered, "Maybe this is his peace too." Tun placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes love no mean to hold on. It mean to let go." She nodded silently. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly again, followed by the sound of rain. But this time, it wasn't a storm of sorrow. It was the rain of peace, washing away the years of pain. The rain that night was soft, not angry like before. It tapped gently on the mansion roof, as if heaven itself was applauding the end of a long, painful story. Inside, the Aliyemi compound glowed with light and laughter. Guests filled the garden. Children ran around holding balloons, and gospel music played from the speakers. It was a grand opening of the Mercy Foundation for Hope, the charity built to help single mothers, orphans, and poor families. And at the center of it all stood Tund, no longer the poor Okada rider from the streets, but the man everyone now called the Angel of Rain. Tund adjusted his neatly ironed native attire, looking uncomfortable in his fine clothes. He never got used to attention. He preferred small moments, a quiet prayer at dawn, or Miracle's laughter at breakfast. But tonight, Mercy insisted. "You deserve to stand in front, Tund. You're the reason all this began," she told him earlier. He had only smiled shyly. "If I stand in front, make it be because I push others forward." Now, as guests mingled around, Tund stood quietly at the edge of the garden. He looked at the stage where Miracle, now 10 years old, stood behind a microphone, smiling brightly. Her confidence filled him with pride. "Good evening, everyone," she began in her clear, soft voice. "My name is Miracle Tund Aliyemi, and I was born under the rain." The audience gasped softly, leaning closer. She continued, "My mama told me the story, how a stranger found her when she was alone and carried her through the storm. That stranger became my papa. He taught me that kindness is never small, and love is not about blood, but heart." Tun lowered his head, his chest tight with emotion. Miracle smiled. "This foundation is to help other children like me. Children who didn't choose where they were born, but still deserve a chance to live, learn, and smile." The crowd clapped loudly. Mercy stood beside her daughter, tears shining in her eyes. When the applause faded, she stepped forward and spoke into microphone. "Years ago, I was lost. Pride, pain, and betrayal almost destroyed me. But one poor man's kindness became my miracle. That man is here tonight. His name is Tund, the Angel of Rain." The crowd erupted in cheers. All eyes turned toward Tund. He froze, eyes wide, then slowly stepped forward. His heart pounded as he climbed the stage. When he reached Mercy and Miracle, both women hugged him tightly. The cameras flashed. The audience rose to their feet. Tund took the microphone. His voice shook at first. I know get big English like Una," he began, drawing laughter from the crowd. "But I sabi small truth. God no day forget good heart." He paused, scanning the crowd, the rich, the poor, the young, the old, all listening. "That night, I know no say the woman way I help go change my life. I know no say one small act fit open door for many. But today, I see say when you do good, even if nobody clap for you, heaven day watch." He smiled and looked at Mercy. "You day alive because God no forget you. And I days stand here because you never forget me." The audience went silent, tears glistening in many eyes. Tun continued, "To all the poor people out there, make you no give up. If nobody see your pain, God see am. If nobody help you today, help person tomorrow, because your rain goes stop one day." Thunderous applause filled the garden. Even the reporters wiped tears from their faces. Later that night, after the ceremony, Tun stood alone by the fountain. The garden was quiet now. Only the sound of water and faint laughter from inside filled the air. Mercy walked toward him, wearing a white gown that glowed under the lights. "You disappear from the crowd again," she said gently. He smiled. "Big place no fit hide small man's heart." She stepped closer. "You're not small, Tund. You're the reason I can stand again. The reason our daughter has a future." He turned to her slowly. "We both suffered before we found peace. But now we days share it with others. That's love." Mercy's eyes softened. "Do you ever regret stopping that night?" He shook his head. "No. If I know stop, I for stop being human." She smiled faintly. "Then promise me something." "What thing?" "Promise me you'll never doubt your worth again." He looked at her for a long moment. "Only if you promise to keep believing in miracles." They both smiled. Years later, Miracle became a young woman, bold, educated, and full of compassion. She turned the Mercy Foundation into one of the largest charities in West Africa. And every anniversary, she visited the same bridge where her mother had once lain under the rain. She always brought flowers and placed them by the roadside. One evening, as she stood there in the drizzle, she whispered, "Thank you, Papa, for seeing what the world didn't. You turned one rainy night into generations of hope." She smiled up at the sky, and a rainbow stretched across the clouds, faint but bright enough to remind her that love, once planted, never dies. Back at the mansion, Mercy sat on a veranda, her hair now silver. Tund, older and slower, joined her with a cup of tea. They sat in silence, watching children play in the distance, kids in the foundation laughing freely in the garden. Mercy looked at him and said softly, "Do you realize, Tund, that the night you stopped for me, you changed not just my life, but thousands of others?" Tund chuckled. "Now God work. I just be the messenger." She smiled warmly. "Then I'm forever grateful to God's messenger." They sat there hand in hand as the sunset painted the sky gold. He was just a poor Okada rider, but his kindness made him the father of miracles. Sometimes one simple act of compassion can turn pain into purpose, strangers into family, and rain into blessing. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Share it, tell someone, and remember, kindness never dies.